Hey guys, I am not sure this is working, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. So, welcome to Gen X Yogini's series on Jedi Yoga. So today we're going to release emotion so that we may find peace. This theme is based off of the very first line of the Jedi Code. There is no emotion, there is peace. And what I've come to find out this means is that whenever we allow our emotions to rule us, when we become slaves of our emotions, then we do not have peace. But whenever we realize that we have emotion, we are not emotion, then we can take a step back and become a little more serene and feel a little more at home within ourselves. So that's what we're going to work on today. So today is a restorative or a yin practice. There's some yin to it and some restorative to it. So if you'd like to use some extra props, that might be helpful. You might need yoga blocks like this. You might need 2, or you can substitute books or Tupperware or lunch boxes or anything that you find either in your kitchen or at the convention, whatever you like. I've even used travel coffee mugs before as supports in my yoga practice. So as long as you feel safe and sturdy and supported, then anything goes. So I'm going to put these right over here. It also might feel nice to have kind of a larger blanket, like a comforter or a throw, that you can roll up into kind of a log here, kind of like Yoda's log on Dagobah, to help support you through some of these poses as well. In this particular sequence, I want to emphasize that there should be no pain. This should feel good, like an opening, not like you are trying to max out the potential of your muscles. In this, it should be a release. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to come into an easy youngling pose. I trade between my Republic terms for these poses and the Terran words for these poses. So this is also known as child's pose, but you can call it youngling pose. Reaching the arms forward, letting the hips sink back towards the heels, allowing the head to bow. The forehead comes to the mat. If you like, you can use a support to support your forehead. If you have a little discomfort here, if you need a little room to breathe, you can rest your forehead on a block or on a blanket or on a rolled up towel. Just take a moment here to breathe and release. You might use this line of Jedi Code as a mantra today to help you stay focused and present in this moment, in this practice. There is no emotion. There is peace. I also am going to invite you to exhale as often as you like through your mouth in this sequence, making a ha sound. It's very therapeutic just to let your breath go. Just let it out. Breathing here. In yin yoga, also in restorative poses, we hold the poses for longer, sometimes up to 3 to 5 minutes, just depending on the pose. So we'll be here just for a little bit longer. Just allowing our body to release, letting any emotions that are coming up for you, just let them come up and then let them flow out. You might feel frustrated. You might feel angry, anxious maybe. These are all okay. It's okay to feel those emotions.
but don't let them take over. Just let them go. Invite them to walk out the door, maybe. There is no emotion, there is peace. And then from here, we're just going to bring our weight forward, coming into this bantha pose, tabletop pose here. Nice and easy, bringing the wrists underneath the shoulders, the knees directly underneath the hips. From here, we're going to shift our weight onto the left side of our body and bring our right foot forward. So this might be something that you can accomplish with one slick little move. This might be something that you need a little help with. So take as wide of a stance as you need to. Bring that foot forward. If you need to, use your right hand to help you. Bring in the hands on either side of the right foot here. And again, in this particular case, a little support might give you some extra room to breathe, which is absolutely okay. We want to make this nice and simple for ourselves. Some points here, you don't want your knee to go past your ankle. So if you find your foot is way back here and you're leaning forward and your heel's coming up, it would be really, really good if you brought your foot a little further forward. We're shifting the hips forward, letting this left hip open down, setting the heart forward so we're not curling our back. We're trying to open up here a little bit. Letting the hips sink down. Coming into a little boga pose here. If you want to, bringing your right hand to the inside of the right leg. And in this boga pose, also known as lizard pose, boga, is the lizard that Obi-Wan is riding in when he's spying on General Grievous. The little boga lizard, that fun little thing that made that crazy noise. In this pose, in this boga pose, this might be pretty intense, or you may want to keep those supports for you to come up a little higher so you have a little room. On the other side of this, it might feel nice to bring your elbows down onto the mat. That's okay too, just keeping the heart reaching forward. We don't want to bow our back again. We want to make sure everything's nice and aligned. Breathing deep here, maybe taking a deep breath into the nose. Let it go through the mouth. Feels so good to release, to let go of any emotions that you've been hanging on to. Any grudges that you've been holding on to, anything you've been clinging to emotionally. Just see if you can, if it comes up for you, just let it go. If one way of doing the boga becomes too intense, then you can come back out of it just a little bit. There is no emotion. There is peace. It's not denying your emotions. It's just allowing yourself the authority to release them. Just another breath here. And then gently, we're going to walk our hands back, shifting our hips back. We're going to start to lengthen through the right leg, sending the right hip back. You can bring both hands on either side of your right leg here. We're going to flex the right toes back towards the heart. So a lot of times in this pose, people try to lock out their knee to bring it as far down towards the mat as they can. And in this, I'm going to invite you to instead focus on sending the right hip towards the back of the mat and reach the heart as close to the toes as you can. And you'll find that you get just as good a stretch here without having to hyperextend your knee. Nice and easy here. If you want to, you can place a folded up towel or a blanket underneath your left knee to help support it, to give it a little more padding if you need to. Or if you like me and you have a little bit thicker mat, maybe you don't need to. Good, and then we're gonna roll through the foot, shifting our weight forward again. This time we're gonna walk our right foot over to the left side of the mat. And maybe bring it in towards the body just a little bit if you need to. Then we start to shift the weight forward, bringing the hips down onto the mat. This is convery or pigeon pose. And in this particular case, it might feel good to place a folded up towel or a blanket. I'm going to come back into this pose real quick. Underneath the right hip, just to kind of help support that hip and make it feel even with the left hip that's coming down. We want to feel centered here, not like we're leaning too far one way or too far the other way. You want to feel nice and centered. You want to keep the toes just a little bit bright. They can be close to the body, or you can walk them towards the top of the mat. Whatever feels better for you here. Starting a little upright, lifting the heart up. Convery pose here. And then gently walking the hands forward, letting yourself bow. Maybe your hands come forward and your head bows. Maybe your elbows come down. Maybe you're able to bring your forehead all the way down. Wherever you are, it's exactly where you need to be. Just allowing yourself to breathe in this pose. Big in breath through the nose. Out breath through the mouth. Making that ha sound. Releasing, releasing. There is no emotion. There is peace. This is a very emotional pose. Many times in yoga classes, I have witnessed the release of many different types of emotions while in this pose. The hips are a place where we store and gather our emotions, the ones that we don't process, the ones that we don't experience fully in the moment which created them. And so sometimes they come out during this pose. And again, that's okay. Allow yourself to feel them and then let them pass on, leaving behind a feeling of peace. A feeling of being at home within yourself. Just another breath or two. Taking a big breath in through the nose. Let it go through the mouth with a ha sound. Then we're going to gently start to make our way back into our Bantha pose, back into tabletop. So finding your way there in a way that's comfortable for you, maybe pressing into your hands, curling the back toes under so that you feel a little more supported. You can lift the hips, slide that right leg back. Maybe you have to get at it from a different angle, which is also just fine. I'm gonna put that aside for a moment. And if it feels good, you can do a little loft cat here, and a little bantha pose here, and whatever feels good for you, a little stretch side to side. And then whenever it feels right to you, you're gonna shift the weight over to the right side and bring the left foot forward, however you need to do it, so that you can come into your boga pose, keeping your knee over your ankle and not beyond it. So if your foot is way back here, then this is going too far. Even if your knee is over your toes, we want to give ourselves some room to grow in this pose. So make sure that you have lots of space. And again, if you need to, you don't have to go that deep into this. You can stay up here, and if you're feeling an opening in your hips, that's perfectly okay. This is exactly where you should be. This is the same pose, just with a little bit of variation for the uniqueness of each body. If it feels good, you can bring your left hand to the inside of your left leg, coming into boga lizard pose here. And it might feel good to shift a little side to side. If you want to, if you are very flexible, you can bring your elbows down, keeping the heart shining up and forward to keep the spine aligned. But if that's too intense, that's okay. This is not a contest. There are no winners. Just the victory of having tapped into a little self-awareness here, a little bit of that Jedi spirit, tapping into the Force. Anytime your mind starts to wander off, anytime this becomes a little too intense, just bring yourself back to the mantra. There is no emotion. There is peace. And take a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go with a ha. Feel how good that feels to release that stuff. Letting go of anything that we've been holding on to, any grudges, again. Any grudges we might have, any fears of upcoming tests or exams or work projects or conventions, cosplays, anything that's giving us stress or anxiety, just letting it go here, just for a few moments, and just feeling yourself in your body, finding peace there. And then gently starting to walk the hands back. You can bring the left hand back to the outside of the left foot, the left leg, flexing the left toes back towards the heart, reaching the left hip back towards the back of the mat, creating an opening in the back of the leg here. Reaching the heart forward, flexing the toes back, reaching the hip back. That's all you need to do. You don't need to lock out your knee. You can keep it nice and soft and supported so it doesn't overstretch or hyperextend. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go with a ha. Rolling the foot forward, shifting the weight forward again, using blocks or bricks or whatever you need to support yourself. We're going to walk the left foot over towards the right side of the mat. And gently start to come on down, taking our time to get into our convery pose here. You might need to do some adjustment, bringing the left foot closer to the hip, to the right hip. Maybe shifting the right leg back, making sure you're right on top of that right thigh.
Perhaps placing a blanket or a towel underneath the left hip so that you feel more secure, a little more stable and centered here. Again, if you feel like you're having to lean one way or the other, then you want to see if you can shift around a little bit and find that center place where it feels like both hips are horizontal to each other. And then from here, opening up the heart, convery pose, also known as pigeon pose here. And if it feels good, you can walk your hands forward just as far as you feel comfortable. Maybe bringing the elbows down. Maybe bringing the chest down and the forehead down onto the mat. Whatever feels right to you here. Allowing yourself to breathe in this convery pose. The convery bird, is associated with Ahsoka and also with the daughter. If you can get real deep into some Star Wars lore here, the daughter represents the light side of the Force. And she always had a convery bird. In fact, the convery was associated with Ahsoka enough. I don't want to give away too much of Ahsoka's story so that you can enjoy it for yourself if you haven't experienced it yet. But convery bird was associated enough with Ahsoka that in Rebels, after in the second or third season, I don't know exactly, I think it's the third season, Sabine Wren paints a convery bird on her pauldron in honor of Ahsoka. It's a very, it can be a very challenging pose. This pigeon pose can also be very much a release. You can feel a lot of emotion here. It can also cause you just to really relax and start to feel a little calmer and a little more peaceful in your body and in your mind. Especially if you take a deep breath into the nose, let it go through the mouth. Good, just another breath or two here. Then we're going to gently start to make our way back, taking your time here, bringing the hands back towards the body, maybe curling the right toes under to help you feel a little more stable as you pull that left leg back, lifting the hips up. Then we're going to slowly make our way onto our back here. Now find a place for that blanket. Taking it nice and slow, nice and easy. In fact, I'm going to go this way, I think, here, like this. And as I roll on down to my back, that release feeling is so nice. I'm going to stretch the left leg out, pull the right knee in towards the chest, towards the center of the chest. So we want to make sure we're bringing it into the center here. Nice and gentle here. If you need to, you can use something to hold it for you, like a blanket. You can wrap the blanket around your knee, around your shin here, and pull it in so it's a little closer if it's hard to get your hands around your knee. You can also use a strap if you have a yoga strap. It's not necessary though. You can use a towel or a blanket or a scarf or belt, whatever you got. Deep, deep breaths here. There is no emotion. There is peace. allowing yourself to step away from the things that sometimes make us feel like we're living in a roller coaster. It can also distort our ability to see things as they truly are. If we're mad at somebody, they may be trying to make amends, but we may not see it because the anger clouds our perception. But when we release that anger, we can see their actions for what they are and find peace. One more big breath in. And with that exhale, we're going to bring the right knee over to the left, coming into a little spinal twist. So ideally, again, this is ideally, the knee is down and the shoulder is down, but very few of us actually are that flexible. So you can put your rolled up comforter or blanket or towel or pillows or whatever underneath your knee to help bring your shoulder down. Or if it's still too high, you can bring your blocks and stuff like that in, stack it up as high as you need to, and then you can also put a blanket underneath your shoulder to help support it so that you don't feel like you're holding anything or forcing anything. We don't want to be like pressing ourselves open. We want to let gravity do the work for you. So doing whatever you need to feel comfortable in this pose and just let it open for you. Taking a few breaths here. You can also bring your chin to the right shoulder if that's more comfortable for you. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And as you release it with a ha noise, unravel from your twist, stretching the right leg out nice and long, bringing the left knee into the chest. And again, using props if you need to help yourself feel more supported in this pose. Just allow yourself to breathe. From a physical perspective, just when we're talking about the body and how the body works, body mechanics, we know that lengthening muscles is really important for health and for flexibility. But compressing muscles is also important for creating resiliency and plasticity, meaning that whenever you do stretch your muscles, they will return back to their original placement, which reduces the risk of injury. That's why we do poses like this pose here to help compress the muscles in the front of the hip. Also, it stretches the muscles in the back of the hip. There is no emotion. There is peace. Good. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. And as you release it with the ha, we're going to bring the left knee over to the right, maybe bringing your props over. Like I'm going to bring this rolled up blanket over to rest my knee on. Opening the left arm out nice and long. If it feels good, you can look up at the ceiling, or you can bring your chin to your left shoulder. Imagining that maybe you're wringing out any last emotions that are hidden deep down inside your body, inside the physiology of yourself, of your person, of your being. Wringing them out, squeezing them out. Big, deep breaths. Taking a deep breath into the nose. And as you release with your ha noise, we unravel, coming back onto our back, planting both feet on the mat. I'm going to move this aside so you can see. I'm getting my pile of props over here. That's a fun little alliteration. I'm going to bring the soles of our feet together, let the knees open wide, coming into shuttle pose, also known as reclined bound angle, or in a third language, Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle pose, or in the Republic they call it shuttle pose. And you can stay here, or if you like, you can use your props here to support your legs so that they don't go further than is comfortable for you, so gravity doesn't push them too far down. Again, just allowing yourself to open here. It might feel good to keep your hands at your sides with the palms up, or it might feel good just to place palms down right at the top of your pelvis here. Third option is to clasp the outside of your elbows and bring your arms overhead. All of these are good places to be, so whatever feels right to you right now is right. Deep, easy breaths here. There is no emotion. There is peace. Feeling the truth of that statement, feeling the truth of that mantra. Starting to sink down into the peace that is the force. Taking one more big breath in. Let it go with a ha. Releasing the hands. Using the hands wherever they came from to help your legs back together. Moving your props aside if you're using props. Stretching the legs out nice and long. Give yourself a full body stretch, reaching hands as far away from feet as possible. And then letting the arms melt down to the sides. Giving some space between your heels, letting the toes point outward. If it feels good, you can nestle your shoulder blades underneath you a little bit. Tuck your chin just a slight bit. Close your eyes. Moving into corpse pose, Shavasana. Keeping with this deep breath, keeping with this mantra. There is no emotion. There is peace. And with each inhale, imagining that you are floating in an ocean that is the Force. And with each inhale, a wave of the Force rises up and crests. And as you exhale, the wave crashes over your body, returning back into the ocean, back into the Force. Each breath is like that. The breath is the wave. And the Force is the ocean. So just breathe and relax and sink down into the peace. Gently starting to come back, allowing some movement to come into your fingers and your toes, allowing them to wiggle and stretch as it feels good. And that movement grows into your wrists and your ankles. And if it feels good, do another full body stretch, reaching hands as far away from feet as possible, like you're waking up for the first time. Then gently starting to make your way into a little fetal position on the right side. So turning over onto the right side, pulling the knees in towards the chest. Maybe resting your head on your arm if that feels good. Just taking a breath here. And slowly using your hands to help you up, coming back into a nice, easy seated position. Whatever way feels nice for you. Legs crossed, or maybe one on top of the other, one in front of the other. We'll end this class by inhaling, reaching the hands up nice and high. Take up a lot of space. Feel how good that peace feels. Exhale, bringing your hands together over your heart. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go one more time with a ha noise. Thank you so much for practicing with me this week. I'm looking forward to bringing you more Jedi Yoga. This is number 3 out of 8 videos that I'm going to be offering. So if you missed the last 2, then you can find them on my YouTube channel. And until next time, may the Force be with you.